you want to start us off, please?
Yeah. Hey, Charlie. Thanks for doing this. Just take us through, first off, your emotions of coming back to Lane Stadium on the opposite sideline.
Well, obviously mixed. Mixed. No, it's more player driven. And but no doubt, this is about our players. It's about the players. It's about NC State, our football team, and it's about Virginia Tech and their players. Certainly not about Coach Wiles. The players have been through a lot. It's been a lot of unsettled, unbelievable how it changes on a daily basis, right? So it's about the players. It's about NC State and our football players, and about Virginia Tech. Of course, if that was Frank Beamer on the other side or something, that'd be totally different, right? Or Bud Foster, so from an emotional standpoint, and I'm glad, to be honest, of a silver lining. Like I said this last night, I was on the show here, our Coach Dorn's radio show, and not having fans, and you guys hadn't. I don't know if you've been to a football game yet without any fans. It's different, and so that plays a factor. That plays a factor. I think not having a full Lane Stadium.
One quick follow-up, but we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the job change, and obviously things have worked out real well for you. But what was kind of your reaction to the way it ended at Virginia Tech? I know you had intended, I believe, staff.
Oh, every good thing's got to come to an end, right? So probably worked out about perfect. So I have no regrets.
Thank you.
Norm Wood, you want to go ahead, please?
Hey, Charlie. How you doing, man?
Norm, good, man. Good to see you, bud.
You too, man. What, as you got settled in Raleigh, you kind of touched on it. This year has been so unique. I think I know what the biggest adjustment was. It's a daily adjustment with the virus. But back when you first got there, what was sort of the biggest adjustment to Coach Doran and what he likes to do, and were things all that different for you when you got established there?
Biggest adjustment. There's a lot of similarities, but just how the culture around the office and with the players and the interaction, and it suits me really good. I like to get close to the players and learning all. I knew my room. I knew the majority of the players. I knew. I had a relationship with probably three of them during recruiting. They considered Virginia Tech very, very hard. So I knew those guys, and I've never been a dude in recruiting that ever hated on a kid if he didn't come to where I was coaching. That just ain't, that's not right. It's, look, you're presenting an opportunity. So I had, when I went in there, those kids, it was good, so, and then learning all the kids, learning all the different players that are here and their names and stuff, I was here January 9th through the end of February. We did some off-season stuff, and then we went into spring football, and I was beginning to learn the other guys, the DBs and the offensive players, and then suddenly, we went virtual, and so I've had to kind of catch back up on all of our players' names and who they are, and that kind of thing. So that's probably the biggest adjustment, learning all the people in the building and all that. But it's football, it's football and development, and it was a really good group of people here, and I've been enjoying myself from that standpoint. It hadn't been really a huge adjustment. I had to learn, obviously, what we're doing defensively and those things, but it's technique fundamental driven. I'm teaching, the way I teach, and then, just scheme wise, and verbiage, that kind of thing. But that's all good to go. And I'm excited to be moving forward.
Will this be your first trip back to Blacksburg since you moved, or have you been back and forth a few times at all? Or
I did. My wife and I moved in down here April 6th. So
right.
Between January 9th and April 6th, I was in Blacksburg. And then my wife went to a wedding shower maybe in June, maybe. I went up and stayed at a friend's house down at the country club, and we played golf Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Sometime. So I made a trip then. That was the last trip. So sometime late, maybe early June, something like that. That I did go up and stay with one of my buddies from my old neighborhood, and we played golf. And it was right after it was right around the early part of June. Yeah. And then since I haven't, my daughter graduated from Radford grad school. She came down and lived with us for about 3 weeks, and then she moved to Green Bay because her boyfriend got drafted up there by the Packers. And then our son Eric is still in Blacksburg.
Cool. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Well,
Alyssa from WNCN, do you want to go ahead for Coach?
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again. I talked to some of your guys in spring practice before you guys got shut down, and they were so excited to have you. Do you think your track record at Virginia Tech and your reputation with the Hokies got those guys to buy in early?
Well, I think so. And they kind of knew me a little bit, and that always, I think gives you a good feeling when you kind of feel like you know somebody a little bit. And I did spend a lot of time recruiting those guys, and so when you're doing that, you do get to know the kids and get close to them. And obviously, during that process, you're obviously trying to get them to come to your school. And then also you want it to be hard on them to say no to you, right? And so you are working to build that relationship. So, yeah, that helped us speed the process up. I think that they had a little bit of trust already there, and then we continue to build that every day.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Andy Bitter.
Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Good, Andy. How you doing? You shaved, man. You got rid of it. Did you have some beards going and stuff?
Too hot this summer. I know Bud doesn't exactly give away those lunch pails like candy. What was that like last year to get one of those? You're one of the few guys that does have one.
Man, I'll tell you what, that blew me away. It really, I have to be honest, it blew me away. Bud called me and said, hey, man, I want you haven't had a chance to say anything to the players. I want you to come to, in whatever morning that was. And right after special teams, I want you to come in. We're going to get the defensive kids in there. And I didn't know anything about the lunch pail. And he got up, had the lunch pail in his hand, and talked about it and what it meant. And he said that Coach Beamer had received a whole lot of accolades and deservingly so. And he said, I've received a whole lot of credit, for what we've done here. But, Coach Wiles played a huge part in our success and what we've done, and went on to talk about that. And really, it was unbelievable, and said, look, we're going to carry this lunch pail down to the bowl game, and we're going to have it on the sideline. But this is your lunch pail. We're giving it to you as you move forward. And I had an opportunity to speak to the players, and that was very emotional and very it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. So I really appreciated it.
When did Bud give that to you? Was it? I saw a picture. Was that at PK's that he gave it to you?
Well, no, he gave it to me that at one of the bowl practices in the morning, and then we went to PK's that evening.
Okay.
And I carried it with me.
Do you? Where do you put it now? Do you have it?
It's in my office at home. Oddly enough, somebody just here in the defensive staff room said you ought to bring the lunch pail to Blacksburg with you. When we come up, and put it on the, in the back. And I thought, wow, hey, that's not a bad idea, but I'll probably not. I'll probably just. I'd like to do that, but I'm not gonna do that. But that was a kind of a clever idea, right? But it sits in my house, in my office, my home office, with a lot of memorabilia from my coaching career, whether it be at Murray State or. And obviously most of it at Virginia Tech. And I'm excited now to make some, some memories and, win some games and win a bunch of games, hopefully here at NC State. So, and get some memorabilia from here.
Cool. Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Corey Smith, go ahead.
So Charlie, I know we're doing a lot of reminiscing on Virginia Tech, but I wanted to ask you about this last week. Just your thoughts on your defensive line's performance, because obviously you came away with 3 sacks in that game and 6 tackles for loss. Just your thoughts on how they came out of the gate.
You know what? Under the circumstances, man, I mean, this thing has been first of all, they moved school up, right? So we only got a 7-day camp, which is the shortest camp ever. And then we kind of kept it a camp mentality through 2 to 3 more weeks. It wasn't like you had them in the evening. You had them in the morning. We're a morning practice team. And so, it was a short camp, 7 days. And then because we moved school up and then we get into, just having them in the mornings, but we're still doing camp, the type of practices that you do in camp, less the evening walkthroughs and all that stuff. And then we get, towards time for our first scrimmage. And I've never seen any of these kids live. And because of spring ball, we only did 5 practices. And then we were going to return from spring break and get into the real meat and potatoes of our spring, which would have been 3 scrimmages. And we didn't get any of that, of course. But right after our scrimmage, and that was a limited number of plays because it was our first live work, it was more put the ball down. It wasn't as much situational stuff. It was more just in between the 20s. We did kicked a couple field goals and stuff. But anyway, it was limited. Kids got somewhere between 25 and 45 plays. And then, we had an interruption here and we had, we didn't have enough kids to practice. We had so many kids quarantined and due to the contact tracing, as you guys are all well aware of at this point in time. And so we had a stoppage, and then it was, I think, 8-9 days before we were able to return with a safe number. And then we were doing limited practice. And so you get into game week, and we returned 1 starter defensively, not on the D-line, back on a Monday of game week from quarantine. So it was, the preparation was different, it was scary from a conditioning standpoint, playing a team with an up-tempo offense is going to try to grind you up. And, but per NCAA rules, if the offensive team goes out of bounds over on their sideline, regardless, you're allowed to sub now, right? And so between that and then anything action over on our boundary where, man, as soon as that ball hit as soon as that guy got tackled, man, we're running guys out there and swapping out guys. So we were smart and we were successful in our substitution. So there wasn't anybody that was playing up front, D-line wise, more than about 5 plays. And so everybody was fresh and they were good. And they didn't get to the point where they were so gassed that they couldn't perform. And we have some depth here at NC State on the defensive line. And so that was the plan, to play numbers where we could stay fresh and try to overwhelm, offensive lines, whoever it may be, with a, fresh group. So we played hard. That was the number one thing. The game demands that, right? You cannot go out there and not play hard. And so that was the main thing. I wanted to see the effort and the strain for which we would play with. We did play with great effort. So therefore that covers up a lot of things, right? When you play with tremendous effort, there's lots of things we got to clean up, but seeing themselves on film for the first time playing an opponent, we've got several kids in that group. We played 7 defensive linemen the other night. We're 3 down. And so there's the first time, that significant playing time for half of those guys. Okay. For 4 of the 7, they hadn't played in a significant amount of time or in a college football game at all. So pretty pleased, with the effort we played with. We made some plays. We did not loaf around out there. And obviously we got things we need to clean up and continue to get better. But what a chance to grow from game 1 to game 2. So we're excited in our preparation this week. And we're excited to go play again and have an opportunity to compete at a very high level.
As a quick follow-up to that last point you made, Daniel Joseph, a guy that hadn't started, had obviously played at Penn State for the last 3 years, but had not started in a game. He gets his first start, plays over 50 snaps in this game, has 2 sacks and 5 tackles. Just your thoughts on how committed he was to being that type of player and seeing it pay off this past week.
Well, for Daniel, he's been hungry for that type of role. He was caught up behind some really, really good players, and he was hungry. And Daniel's he's motivated. He wants to be a part of. He wants to be a part of a football team, and he wants to lead. And he's at that point in his career, and he knows that it's a one-time shot, for him. He's very motivated, very motivated. So I was happy for Daniel, happy for us and our football team, because sometimes it's hard when you come into a new place, right? And nobody knows you, and you're hungry for that leadership stuff. And how do you fit in? How do you get into that leadership role? And without stepping on toes and without seeming, to be overbearing, or, you know what I mean? You've got to let that kind of flow and let it happen. And through that pandemic and through our quarantine and Zooms, and sometimes it's very difficult. So Daniel has done a good job of restraining himself, doing it with tact, and really just working hard and putting his effort and his determination on video and letting that come to him. So I congratulate him, and we got a lot of football games left, and we're going to need everybody in that room to continue to have success for sure.
Thank you.
Mike, I'm not even going to try to say your last name, but go ahead.
Nizilik. Charley, you mentioned your former players. How much communication has there been? Have you talked to them much kind of throughout this pandemic, or you kind of just stay away a little bit? What's kind of been your?
You talking about the guys that are on the team now?
Yeah, with Virginia Tech. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't talked to those guys. I can't do that. I got to let them, make a break, and I've got to move on, right? And now, those guys, they know I'm, when they finish up their time there, I'm available, right? And certainly, I told them when I spoke in that defensive team meeting how much they meant to me. What the everything that we have fought for, and everything was real, and this is life. This is life, and so I got to let those guys make their, let the other coaches let their, I can't be calling those guys right now and that kind of thing. But as we move forward later on, man, my number hadn't changed, and I'll be available if, something like that. But just moving forward, we had to make we had to make a break.
And then, you had told us, I think during the season, you had planned to coach a couple more years, after last season when, Bud was stepping down. Did you have any second thoughts about trying to continue, or did you still have that fire, right away? Did you know, in December? What did you kind of go through after, you found out? Did you just know that you had to get back in, or did it take a minute?
I knew I wanted to coach, but I think it needed to be the right place, right? For me. And this is certainly, I could not have written down anything any better, right? A fit for me where I've recruited. I know all the coaches in the high school coaches in the state of North Carolina. It's a great place, a dynamic #1 city in the Southeast. It is like, a great place to land. So, and then you get in a program where, I think it's a whole lot like way Coach Beamer ran his program. And so it was a good fit. It was a good fit for me and my family, and really pleased. So, yeah, never a doubt that I wanted to coach. But it was like, hey, what's going to present itself, And so that was the part. And fortunately, this worked out exactly, and it worked out pretty quick.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Jonas Pope.
Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time this afternoon and speaking with us. We talked to Coach Dorn earlier this week about not having any game film on Virginia Tech and, not seeing them the last couple of years because they haven't played them in a while. And he said one thing they had his advantage was having you and Coach Mitchell on the staff. Has your office been pretty busy this week with assistant coaches coming in and other coaches asking you questions about Virginia Tech?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not like, we're giving up, any secrets or something. It's just more personnel driven and guys. And there's a lot of kids there right now that's going to play the game perhaps that we don't even know, that we hadn't been around. But, yeah, there's been some, there's been talk, about that's what coaches do. Brian Mitchell was with us when we were getting ready for West Virginia in 2017, right? And he worked with Coach Gibson at West Virginia before he came to Virginia Tech, right? So same kind of stuff. What's going to happen? What's some of their checks? When you give them certain things, and that's coach stuff. That's what we do. And especially when it's on the line, you want to win a game.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I see two more hands raised in there, so we'll get to Mike Barber.
Yeah, one quick follow-up. Charlie, I just wanted your thoughts on Justin Hamilton taking over as the coordinator, your experience with him. What do you think about him getting that job? No,
it's awesome, man. I recruited Justin back in 1998. And have, I'm really, to be perfectly honest with you, Justin was able to get back to Virginia Tech, and he called me a lot. And so I was a part of that, helping him get back when he came as a QC or whatever it was. He's a wonderful person, got a wonderful family, and I'm happy for him.
What did he tell you about why he was going in a different direction with the line coach job?
That's exactly what it was, different direction. That was it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Sorry, I don't see your first name. T. Wells. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach Wiles, this is Travis. Great to see you. Just to spend 20 years at a place, I know that doesn't happen very often. Can you just put that in perspective? I would imagine you probably feel pretty fortunate to be at one place that long, since it doesn't happen like that, especially now in today's climate.
Unbelievable, Travis. Sometimes, you're thinking, wow, if I'd have been more ambitious, and you might be a coordinator, you might be a head coach, right? Because you do have to move a lot of times for that to happen. And you get your circle big, and you get to know a lot of people. And then there's these jobs opportunities that pop up. And then I think, my kids, the everyday life that we got to enjoy, and staying in one place, I think all that outweighs that. I had an opportunity back in 98, just through a connection, to potentially take an NFL job or interview, and decided, that was, we had everybody coming back on defense. Obviously the next year, we played for a national championship in 99. Did not take that opportunity and hung in there, and I do not have any regrets at all. And I don't think it will happen again, Travis. The landscape of our business, is just there's a lot of money involved, and it's a performance-based business, right? You have to win games, but I am so proud of what we were able to do at Virginia Tech over that 24-year span. I hated that, Coach Beamer obviously always said, there's going to be a time, and he would know when that was, but what a great 21-year run, with the guy that I played for at Murray State, and that relationship, man, I'll tell you what, I have no regrets at all, and just really proud of what we were able to accomplish there. Kind of, as college football, it really, as everything kind of was like a perfect storm with TV and conferences and things happened. It just kind of momentum, right? And we were riding that whole thing, and we were really at the top of the wave, for many years. So it was really cool. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't be more excited about being here at NC State. It's a great, I like everything about it. I like everything about it. All the staff that I'm working with, the support staff, the players, you never really know what it's like, right? Somewhere else, I hadn't been anywhere else for a long time. And it's been really cool. It was a good time. And my wife and I, where we were at that time, obviously our kids have launched, and it was Andy and I. And so it was perfect timing, and we couldn't be happier, and look forward to, like I said, to winning a bunch of games here and building a lot, making memories and building something, special.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Good to see you, Travis.
A couple more here that we can get Coach out of here. Rob McLam.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned the relationships. Obviously, I'd like to know about working with Coach Gibson as well. Also, when your front is working at optimum efficiency, what type of freedom does it give his linebackers in terms of flexibility, in terms of just the freedom to roam and do that job?
Well, Coach Gibson's awesome, man. I knew Tony only from being we were on opponents, and we coached against each other. And then when we got in the ACC, West Virginia, actually Tony and some of the guys from his staff, they came down on a educational, whatever you want to call it, professional growth. So I got to know Tony a little bit there, and then just over the years, right, see him at a convention or something. So never worked with him, but then when we started talking about this job, it was some chemistry there, and so that part of it was awesome. And Tony was, kind enough to, I was down here, before I moved, it was 3 months, so he had a mother-in-law quarters, and I lived up in top of his mother-in-law quarters at his house. So took care of me from that standpoint. Now, as far as the football staff, we're a gap, defense. I mean, everybody's got to secure their gap. That's what it's about. And it obviously I think the key component to this defense is your nose guard. And eating up, some blocks in there and being able to keep that center off that next level and those things. That's the biggest, I think, most important component. And we got a nose guard, and got a couple of them, matter of fact. And but it's like anything else. That what we did in Blacksburg with Bud was a gap, defense in terms of, everybody was a one gap team. We're not doing much we're not two gapping anybody down here either. I mean, we're securing gaps and running people through gaps, and everybody's got their area they have to secure, but when you have some big bodies up front and you can tie up some blockers, obviously that's going to make it better on the linebackers, right?
Norm Wood.
Charlie, I'm sure you still talk quite a bit, obviously, with Bud. Since he retired right before the pandemic and you chose to go on, has he texted you or called you and said, "You sure you want to keep up with this headache?"
Well, there's no doubt, man. He's just happy he wants everybody to do what they want to do, right? I mean, he's happy if I'm happy. And of course, with Bud, he's recently, newlywed and all that. So he's staying busy, and then he's taking on this role with Witt, and they're utilizing, Bud's personality and relationships with knowing so many people. So he's happy with his role right now, and he'll go down. He's obviously a Hall of Famer, and but a close friend. He's checked on me. I'll see him Friday. You know, there's no doubt. Talked to Coach Beamer well, actually I didn't. I called him. I was thinking about him and missed him, left a voicemail, and then he called me back today. Him and Belen called me back today. So you know, those kind of things, man, that's what it's all about, man. You know, is lifetime relationships, people that are, you know, have your back, and pretty cool, you know, that what we did and what we can, you know, what hopefully I can do down here, you know, is impact some kids.
So it's you're going to see him Friday, you said?
Yeah, I'll see him Friday over somewhere at the hotel probably.
It's a good thing it's a 8 p.m. kickoff on Saturday then, huh?
Well, I don't know if it'll be all that. Yeah, I hear you. 8 p.m.
Thanks, man.
You got it, Norm.
All right, very last question. We've held Coach up for 30 minutes here. Gary Hahn, go ahead.
Real quick, Coach, I'm just wondering what you and Coach Gibson and the other defensive coaches have kind of zeroed in and focused on and trying to clean some things up from last week.
Yeah, you know, it's more some technique fundamental stuff. As you notice, you know, the ball got out on our perimeter some, right, in the run game. We did give up 3.0 yards per carry, which is a good number. We could have been better, but it was more keeping the edge of our defense and making sure that the ball does not escape, you know, and bounce, and we do not leverage the ball properly. And then continue to improve as pass rushers, winning more one-on-one situations, whether it's in the run game and defeating more one-on-one blocks, or whether it's in rushing the passer. And that's particularly up front, is winning more one-on-one battles. You know, we made some plays and we did some good things, but it's getting off blocks. It's really technique fundamentals, you know, just continuing to grow in that area. And then assignment wise, was very pleased. I think we only had 1 or 2 MAs up front, so missed assignments and where we didn't fit where we needed to fit. But overall, it was good from a communication standpoint. Obviously, not having a large crowd, you can talk to one another out there. You can hear, and so that makes it easier to communicate. But the big thing, and then obviously, it's just not to speak on the whole defense, but, you know, just continue to get better technique fundamentals up front, you know.
Coach, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you to all the Virginia media that did it and joined us. If you guys need anything, just let us know.